Hi, and welcome to Drupal Brief. This is an AI-generated summary of another video, podcast, or blog post. If you want to learn more about what's being discussed here, then please go check out the source. This podcast is produced by the team at Drupal Forge. Drupal Forge is the new #1 open-source development and hosting platform. It has all the functionality of the expensive platforms, but at very affordable prices. If you're looking for a new hosting provider, contact us for a demo before you get locked in. Okay, that's it. Make sure to click subscribe, and here we go.
So, have you ever found yourself needing to organize really different types of information for the same user? Maybe it's for, a family subscription service where different people have their own preferences, or maybe multiple shipping addresses linked up to just one account. It can get complicated pretty fast when you're just using the basic user accounts.
Yeah, and it's easy to think, just add more fields. But what really struck me in the source material was this emphasis on it being, a fundamentally different way of handling user data. And that's exactly why we're doing this deep dive today. We're looking at the Drupal profile module. This isn't just about, tacking on a few extra fields to an existing user account. It's really about a more sophisticated approach, a way to manage all that diverse user-related information. And to help us really get into it, we've pulled insights from a Talking Drupal YouTube segment. It features Martin Anderson-Klutz as a principal solutions engineer over at Acquia and maintains several Drupal modules. So, we're getting some solid info here straight from someone deep in the Drupal world.
Okay, so our mission today is to really understand how this profile module works. It's not just adding features. It seems like it fundamentally reshapes how you should maybe think about user data. It's an architectural choice, right? One that kind of liberates you from these big monolithic user entities, allowing for systems that can adapt and grow with your needs without needing constant re-engineering down the line. Okay, so let's unpack this a bit. What's the core problem that this module is solving? Something that just adding fields to the regular user entity can't quite handle?
Right. Well, the key takeaway here is definitely that it addresses a common pain point. It's this need for different types of user data that just don't neatly fit into one single user entity. The core idea, basically, of the profile module is storing user info in one or maybe more configurable profiles that are actually independent of the user entity itself. This lets you have a cleaner, much more organized approach. It ensures these distinct pieces of info, like, say, a billing profile versus maybe a content preference profile, are conceptually separate from the main user account. And this separation, it actually mirrors a pretty common pattern you see online now, where users might even edit different parts of their profile in completely separate tabs or sections.
That idea of independence, that sounds really powerful. But how far does that flexibility actually go? Could one user really manage multiple totally different profile types for different ways they interact with the site?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And it brings up the comparison. How does this stack up against just adding fields to the core user profile? Well, the key difference really lies in that granular control over permissions and, crucially, the ability to define distinct independent profile types. So yes, a site can definitely have multiple profile types. Absolutely. And you can use permissions and roles to decide who can even create which kind of profile. Plus, these profile forms, they can optionally be shown right during user registration, which can really streamline the whole onboarding process. And for privacy, which is obviously huge, profile fields can be set as private. That means by default, only the user themselves and site admins can see their value.
Okay, so beyond just defining these separate profiles, it sounds like the module also gives you pretty solid control over how they're managed and displayed. Like you mentioned, they integrate into the user's view page, and you can configure how they show up using the Manage Display tab for accounts.
Exactly. You have that display control. And for anyone who needs to track changes over time, maybe for compliance or just history profiles are optionally revisionable too, you can turn that on.
Right. Revisions are useful.
Now, one important thing to note for anyone thinking about translation, currently profiles aren't translatable out of the box, but there is an issue filed for it in the queue and there's a patch available. So if multilingual is a hard requirement for your project, you do have an avenue to explore there. It's not a complete dead end.
Okay. That covers the technical why pretty well. But for someone actually, building a site, what's a really concrete example? Where does this module go from just being nice to have to being, indispensable? Is there a classic use case that just screams profile module? You mentioned that Netflix idea earlier, one account, but different watchers, right?
They're
Each with
looking-
their own settings, watch history, preferences.
Yeah.
That kind of structure just makes intuitive sense for this.
Yeah, exactly. And connecting that to the bigger picture, it's really about having the right tool for this specific job. Think about Drupal Commerce, for instance. The profile module is actually a requirement for commerce, specifically for handling things like shipping and billing profiles. Those need to be tied to a single user, sure, but they have to remain distinct data sets with potentially different fields and permissions. I mean, you could try to hack together solutions, maybe with field permissions or some other workarounds, but the profile module just offers a much more elegant and frankly more robust way to manage these separate data sets, especially when the permissions need to vary for each type of profile. So yeah, it's ideal for those subscription services like that family clan analogy you brought up where you want different profiles set up for different people under one main account holder.
It definitely sounds incredibly powerful for those complex cases. But are there scenarios where maybe this module is overkill? Or perhaps it introduces complexities that, for very basic needs, a simpler approach might actually be better.
That's a fair point. I mean, if your site just needs one or two extra bits of information for a user and there are no complex permission requirements around that data, then yeah, maybe adding a full profile type might feel like a bit too much overhead right at the start. But I'd argue, as soon as you anticipate needing different permissions for different data or managing multiple distinct sets of user information, or even just planning for potential future growth where user data complexity might increase, that's when the upfront thought into using the profile module really pays off. It just provides a much cleaner, more maintainable architecture in the long run.
And the history of this module is actually pretty fascinating, isn't it? It really seems to track Drupal's own evolution. You mentioned it was officially created as a project back in October 2015 by Boyens, but the code itself seems to go way, way back, maybe even to the 4.0 branch of Drupal core. It's kind of wild to think how these modules, which feel so fundamental now, trace their roots back through Drupal's earliest days. It almost feels like developers have been grappling with these kinds of problems, just in different iterations for ages.
Absolutely. It's really insightful, actually, to see how modules, even the ones conceptually separate from core now, often have these deep roots within the project's history. Like you said, the profile namespace was initially part of Drupal core itself. Then, remember Profile 2, that emerged around the Drupal 7 era. And now, through its evolution, it's kind of come full circle back to using the profile namespace. With the first official release of this iteration, the 4.0 Monex branch, being by Dre, this whole lineage, it really speaks to the enduring nature of the problems these modules aim to solve, doesn't it? And importantly, the module is actively maintained. It's got security coverage, test coverage. Recent releases are by Jonathan Saksic of Centauro, so it's in good hands.
Yeah, and clearly valued by the community, too. According to Drupal.org, it's officially used by almost 35,000 sites. That's quite a lot. It's got, 125 open issues, with 53 tagged as bugs, which, honestly, given how many sites use it, is considered pretty good, right? And the current 8x1.112 version supports Drupal 9, 10, and even 11, so it's definitely keeping pace with the latest core releases. So wrapping things up a bit, we've really seen how the profile module is this surprisingly versatile, almost essential tool for Drupal developers. It offers this flexible, secure way to manage all sorts of diverse user data, going way beyond just simple user account fields. It really feels like one of those modules that solves a problem you might not even realize you have until you actually run into that specific complex use case.
Exactly. So maybe a final thought for everyone listening. When you're designing your next Drupal site, you're thinking about how to handle different user personas or specific data requirements for users, consider this. How might using the profile module push you to think a bit more creatively about your overall data architecture? How could it allow for that future growth and flexibility that maybe sticking everything onto the simple user entity just might not offer down the road?
Okay, we're done. To close off this podcast, I just wanted to remind you that this brief was a fully AI-generated summary, and we take no credit for the original content. If you want to learn more, then check out the source. This podcast is produced by the team at Drupal Forge. Drupal Forge is the new #1 open-source development and hosting platform. It has all the functionality of the expensive platforms, but at very affordable prices. If you're looking for a new hosting provider, contact us for a demo before you get locked in. And if you like this podcast, hit subscribe, post a link on social media, and recommend it to 2 friends. That's it. See you next time. Bye for now.